Hello and welcome to this week's Q&A. I have two questions for you, a reflection from someone about some mini sessions, and I also have a question for you. So I will read the first question. This is a great question. I'm so grateful for this one. I think everyone will appreciate it. Sometimes when people around me see a change of behaviour in me for my benefit, they aren't used to seeing me act differently and they feel they can't control me to suit their needs. So they try and bring me down. How should I react to this? First of all, such great awareness in this one. Can't see a thing without them today. Eyes must be tired. Such great awareness. So this person is saying she's working on behaviour change and she's noticing, so she's aware of the people, I would say inner sanctum people, they're not liking it. There's something about it. This often happens when people change lifestyle, living in a home, like primary relationship, kids or anything like that. And let's say you start exercising or you change how you eat, what you're having for dinner. They don't like it because it's changing. It's a change for them. So noticing their reaction to your behaviour change and also noticing how you feel, the discomfort, the agitation, the anxiety, the judgment that you feel from them within yourself. So really good awareness about that. Having a balanced view, understanding them. That's the first step, really, rather than become reactive and defensive and critical of them, understand them. They're uncomfortable because you're changing something about how you live your daily life and it's affecting their daily life. They don't like it. And that's okay. They don't have to like it. You're making positive changes for yourself that are absolutely critical and important for you and your well-being. I suspect some of the old behaviours weren't that healthy. Maybe you were over-functioning and nurturing others and not nurturing yourself. So this is a good step for you, but it is going to make them uncomfortable. I guess my biggest encouragement is about how should I react to this? No reaction. Just observe their behaviour and awareness of and have awareness of the thoughts, feelings and urges that evokes in you, an urge to strike out, an urge to return to the old behaviour because that's the status quo and everyone will be comfortable. Notice all of that and keep going, practicing your new behaviour. I think making sure, because you may at some point want to mention this. If it goes on, I think initially you just, stick with your practices and notice their reactions and just see if that subsides. And if it doesn't and it's becoming unworkable, that's what we're looking for in all relationships. Workability, is this workable? Is this lessening or is it increasing? Then you may decide that you need to say something. So first thing, remember when we are confronting someone with a new boundary or anything at all, that we need to be really, really anchored. So do an anchoring practice and get very, very clear on what you're actually wanting to say. To be concise is the most helpful way to confront someone or approach a difficult conversation. So be calm and clear and introduce a boundary. So you're going to say, introducing a boundary for yourself that may make them feel uncomfortable. Explain that self-awareness and self-care and how you are working on strengthening these two skills at the moment is a way of building your confidence and satisfaction in life, or whatever it is how you want to articulate that. And that's going to require me to change some of the ways that I interact with you, or I eat, or whatever it is. So you state what you're committed to doing, state the changes that's going to require, and then acknowledge how that is going to affect them. I understand that this is a change for you too. I understand that, we've been, eating at 8 o'clock and now I'm going to eat at 6 o'clock, whatever it is. And I know that's a change, and I appreciate that that could be an agitation or annoyance for you, but it's really, really important to me that I stick to this, and I hope you will support me in this. Holding a boundary is to acknowledge where their encroachment on your new behaviour starts and finishes. So I might be flexible to eat earlier one night, but I would say, 5 out of 7 nights I'm going to be wanting to eat during this time. Or I'm going to be getting up early to go and exercise, or I'm going to be seeing my friends on the weekend, or I'm going to be whatever it is. And then again, reassure them. Nothing else is changing. I'm just starting to care for myself a bit more. Hope you'll support me with that. And let me know if there's anything that I'm doing that really isn't working for you, and we can talk about it. But for now, I'm just asking for your support. So that's a really, really good one. The situation where someone in our inner sanctum is reacting in a negative way to a positive change that we're making for ourselves. Question 2. I've become aware that anxiety is a habit of mine. I worry and worry until I'm almost in panic. Oh, it makes me anxious reading this. Sometimes I think I create anxiety so I don't have to go somewhere or do a certain thing with a certain person, for instance. Even though it feels helpful to acknowledge all of this, I'm now afraid I can't change it. Can you advise if this is possible? I love this question. So there's obviously the mini sessions and the retreat have, I'm assuming, has opened and developed awareness of anxiety as a general experience, and specifically in this case, when it rises, when it's predominantly there. And this person is noticing what's called in ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, creative hopelessness or creative helplessness. Exactly what she's saying, that she evokes. What she's saying is that she seems to think that she's evoking anxiety to get out of going somewhere, doing something, seeing someone, to get out of doing something that she perceives she doesn't want to do or won't like doing or will be hard or whatever it is, or will make her uncomfortable. So she gets anxious about that. Remember, that's in the future. Anxiety is a future-focused experience. It's fear-based. I'm afraid that when I go there, see that person do that thing, that I'll be humiliated, that I won't cope. And this is a really important thing for you to understand about your anxiety. What is the fear? Remember, root cause. What is the root cause? Anxiety is a symptom that is rising as a result of something, and you need to work that out. Creative helplessness starts as a protective behaviour, so it can serve us to notice our anxiety about an event that's coming up that we don't want to go to, or just isn't right for us, might not be healthy, it just may not be the right thing. In this regard, that anxiety is being helpful. It's letting us know this is a no-go. And then if it's an event, you might just say, look, really appreciate it. I like the idea of coming, but I'm just not in a position to come, or whatever it is. So you're holding that personal boundary. The other part of this is, remember what this person's saying is, I've become aware that anxiety is a habit. I love that acknowledgement, that she's saying that this is something that is habitual. Whenever X, Y, Z happens, I feel anxious. I evoke anxiety. I get worried. I suspect there's a bit of anxiety about the anxiety in there too. However, think about the thing about the habit. A behaviour repeated is a habit. So as I said, anxiety can serve us to let us know. Remember, it's our threat detection system that is triggered letting us know, hang on, this thing that you're intending to do isn't right for where you're at right now. It's, you're too tired, you don't have enough money, and then spending that money is going to make you more anxious, so it's just not right. And the anxiety is, can you see that, is really supportive there. It's a good thing. It's letting us know that there's that perceived threat is warranted, and we're going to take positive action about that. But when it's repeated often, it can get very distorted, and then we have anxiety sort of in all different confusing situations, which is what this sounds like to me. So if you've got into the habit of being anxious in lots of different situations and you're noticing it, let's agree that you can start a new habit. And that habit is self-supporting, self-soothing, anchoring practice, the habit of noticing my thoughts in relation to my anxiety, the habit of going straight to the problems of this event that's been offered or whatever it is, and then practicing a new habit of self-assurance, remember self-trust. I trust I'll be able to cope with the anxiety or the nervousness. Maybe we could downplay the language a bit. I might be a bit nervous, that's understandable. I've never been to that event before, or I've never spoken in a meeting, or whatever it is. Practicing noticing. I notice my mind moving into helpless mode. I breathe deeply and I shift myself into confident speech and action, reassuring, encouraging, supporting speech and action towards myself about the anxiety and about the event that I may deem as something that I need to do. There's no need to evoke anxiety if you don't want to do something. You don't need to pull that card, I'm anxious and I can't go, or whatever it is. Use your boundary speech to explain this if it's a social thing, as I just explained. I don't have the money, I haven't got the time, I've had a really huge week, I just cannot possibly draw enough energy to go to that concert tonight. I'm really working on my diet and I'm not really wanting to eat out at a restaurant this weekend, or whatever it is. Use your boundary speech. If it's an event or task that you need to do, then do your anchoring practice with the breath. Then connect to your values and connect to the values aligned reason that you need to do this. So if it's a work thing, you're just going to practice competency and get yourself into position. You're going to practice contribution. You're going to practice, self-trust. All of those values, self-responsibility, self-discipline, make sure I have an early night, have a walk in the morning, don't drink too much coffee, whatever it is that you need to do to put yourself in the best position to be as calm and confident as possible to do that thing you need to do that you feel, and let's again downplay the language, slightly anxious about. Notice the anxiety about the anxiety. Reassure yourself that it's normal for me to feel a bit nervous in this state. I've been in the habit of feeling anxious all the time. I can't switch it off. It's going to dissipate over time. Accepting some anxious feelings as you go. Stay in the moment as you move towards the event or the task. Stay present. Don't get too far ahead and freak yourself out with what ifs. What if I get there and I don't? No, you're not there. You're here. And what's happening right here and now is okay. You're driving there. You're walking there. You're whatever. Really anchor yourself in the present moment with the breath. So I hope that helps with that one. The third section is a reflection, just a lovely email I received, which I just wanted to read because I think it's fabulous. Great mini sessions, says the email. Drove to work today practicing from the previous mini session, mindfulness in daily life, by bringing my attention back to the road instead of ... wondering how much that house was up for sale, paranoid about the driver in the car next to me, that they may be looking at my side profile, or being pissed off at the person in front because they are doing 50 in a 60 zone. Also, today's mini session has prompted me to practice self-discipline for the following: hitting the snooze button Any great tips, greatly appreciated. Any tips, greatly appreciated. Talking quietly, thinking before giving an opinion, beating myself up before I've even done anything wrong, automatically assuming, believing that the thing that went wrong was because of me, and I go into apologetic mode internally. I get an immediate guilt feeling and start planning my reasons why, and it probably wasn't even me. Maybe it all stems from my super self-conscious growing up, turning red even up until year 12 if a boy even talked to me. I've had no positive role model in my life. If I was made to be put in the spotlight, or I had a speech in front of the class, super self-consciousness. Isn't that great? So how many of us have experienced these moments in our history, even in our current day? Many of you may be still experiencing things like this. That's why I love this. I know these are really, really helpful to send through everyone. These reflections on the mini sessions, share these moments, the awareness that you're developing and the reflections that you have about how you've been relating to what's happening in the here and now in relationship with yourself or others. Hitting the snooze button. Self-discipline. I think this is a real muscle to practice. That self-discipline is simply saying to yourself, I can only press the snooze button once, because we all love that. I certainly know that's my practice, is mostly if I have my alarm on. I mostly wake up naturally, but if I have to have my alarm on, I definitely am in the habit and the practice of hitting the snooze button once, and that's it. And then I get up. I definitely do not touch my phone. I get up and I have everything ready. I think that's a really important habit to get into. Have everything ready for what you need to put on for the next morning. Know what you're going to wear. Don't leave that to the morning when you're groggy and grumpy. And it's just a matter of that. Remember those words, supporting and encouraging self-talk, speech and action towards yourself. Remember that thoughts are the seeds of our speech. So if you're noticing yourself, doubting yourself about getting up in the morning or whatever it is, that is a seed, and that's more likely to eventuate in that behaviour happening. So encouraging self-talk the night before, setting yourself up to succeed, setting yourself up to practice self-discipline and get on out of that warm bed. I love the list. Automatically assuming that, believing I went wrong because I go into apologetic mode. All of this for me is fantastic awareness. Now you need to work out what the antidote practices are. If you go into apologetic mode, then what is the antidote practice? I think, again, awareness, acceptance. Oh, there's my mind telling me it's my fault and apologising to everyone. Wow, that's that habit that I've had for so long. But I acknowledge it's not really my fault, or whatever it is. It's no one's fault. It's just da-da-da-da. And you just have that really light, accepting kind of internal speech. Super self-conscious, growing up, turning red, all of that. So that's still there. Remember, parts of the self. There's a part of me that's really, that has a tendency or a sensitivity to being put in the spotlight. And it stems back to that time at school when I turned red when I spoke to a boy. And the minute that I get put in the spotlight, I feel that same feeling. That's a young part of me. So have your wise adult self connect with that part that's anxious about being put in the spotlight, and set up a really supportive and soothing and encouraging conversation with that part. Thank you for sending that in. Please send in more, everyone. My question for you to finish with: what is anxiety for you? What do you think it is? How do you describe it to yourself? I hear a lot of people saying my anxiety. Is it something that you claim? Where do you feel it? Remember, anxiety is a feeling we experience in our body. It's a physical experience. Where is it? Do you have racing heart, tight chest, knots in the tummy? Where is it? Band in the head, floating? How do you respond to this experience, and is it working for you? And the last part of this question for you is there anything that I can do or talk about further in relation to anxiety to support you? So send me in any scenarios or questions about this. I'm more than happy to have an additional section in next week's Q&A further to anxiety, which is without a doubt the most dominant problem and pain that I work with in private practice, but worldwide. It's just become this, its own anxiety demic. And I believe it's because we're talking about anxiety so much and we're making people so aware of it. When they notice it, they think there's something wrong with them, as opposed to accepting that it's a normal part of the human experience, and we need to learn to tolerate it. So that's why I want you to think about it. What is it for you? What do you think anxiety is? When do you get triggered? When does anxiety rise in you? What does it feel like? What do you do when you feel it? Is it working? And can I help you further? That is the Q&A for this week. I shall see you again next week. I hope you're all well. And remember, tell your friends about Mind Body Retreat. Send them to the website. Let them have a look and see if it might be something that could help them in their self-development process. Lots of love.